Hi Year 9. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about the solar system today. I'm going to start by going over the answers to the questions that you did for me last day, and then we'll just work our way through. Okay, so I've had a quick look at these. Most people did really well in them, so very quickly, if you just mark them in your folder for me. The names of the inner planets, so they're the first four, so Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars. Outer planets are the last ones: Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Closest to the Sun is Mercury, and furthest from the Sun is Neptune. Over on to page 141 then. So question 5, the planet which has the highest temperature is Venus. So that's quite a cool wee fact, because you would think the one that is closest to the Sun would be the highest temperature. Makes sense. However, Venus is actually a little bit higher temperature than Mercury, and that's because it has a really dense atmosphere. So you would know about carbon dioxide here on Earth and the greenhouse gases. Well, Venus has a really dense atmosphere of greenhouse gases, and because of that it holds an awful lot of the heat, and that's why it's actually warmer than Mercury. So there you go. The coldest planet is Neptune, largest Jupiter and smallest Mercury. Over on to 142. Generally, as the planets get further from the Sun, their temperature tends to drop or get lower. Any words to that effect? Obviously, apart from Venus, that's the wee exception to that. As the planets get closer to the Sun, their time to orbit the Sun gets shorter. The asteroid belt is between Mars and Jupiter. Asteroids are just lumps of rock, and they're left over from when the solar system was formed. I've written was formed. Okay. And then 12, asteroids may have been responsible for climate change, and because of that, dinosaurs become extinct. Okay, so last lesson then we did page 145, and hopefully you had fun building your wee solar system to scale, and hopefully it was able to give you an idea of the differences in the distances between planets, particularly how far apart those outer ones are. So we're going to do another little scale of the solar system today, but we're going to do a graph rather than a fun model. Graphs are fun too though. So if you look at 146 for me, please. For this you're going to need a pencil. You are going to need your planets cards. Do you know the ones that are on page 143? So if you lift those out and have them beside you whenever you're doing this, it'll definitely make it easier. And we're going to plot a graph showing the distance between each planet, the distance of each planet from the Sun. So it tells us here, use the solar system cards to find the information. So I have mine here. Write the first letter of each planet along the bottom of the graph. So I've started mine here, right? So see, if you look down the bottom of my graph, it works out relatively well if we go every 4 squares and then do our planets. So there's my Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And then I've just labelled my axes with planet. Okay. Then it tells us write a title for the vertical axis and work out a suitable scale. But down at the bottom of the page it actually tells us what scale. So my title was distance from the Sun, and then after a little slash I've written my unit. Now, rather than write in all the zeros on all of my numbers here, I'm saying that these numbers represent millions of kilometres. So if you can see that, that's just what I've written there. Distance from the Sun, and the unit is million kilometres. So like this number here represents 4,000 million kilometres, etc. Right? So I have just used the wee help at the bottom here. So each small square is 100 million kilometres. Counting up from the bottom, every 10 squares is 1,000, and that's what I've done. And just so I'm not always having to count lots, if you can see there, I have put wee dashes just at the 500 marks after every one. Just makes it easier whenever we're counting. Okay, so what we need to do then is just plot a wee X where all the planets should be. So I'm going to do, well, I probably will end up doing them all, but I want you to do some on your own. So if we look at Mercury here, right, distance from the Sun is 58 million kilometres. So we're having to plot that somewhere on this line here for Mercury. Well, if this is 100,000 kilometres and every wee square is 100,000 kilometres, then what were we at, 58? That's going to be just over half a square. So it's just going to be a wee X about there. Okay. Let's look at Venus. It is 108 million kilometres. So Venus, every wee square is 100 million kilometres. So it's going to be just above that wee line there. Okay. Earth, 150 million kilometres. Hopefully you're getting the gist. So if you're feeling confident, pause the video, go on and do this yourself, and then check back in to see mine and compare, check yours is right. If you're needing a wee bit of help, I'm going to continue talking on through it now. So Mars is 228 million kilometres. So 200, this would be 300. So 228 is going to be somewhere in here. Okay. Jupiter, 778. So there's my wee line there for 500, 600, 700, 800. So 778 is going to be about there. Okay. Where are we now? Saturn, 1,427 million kilometres. So Saturn, 1,000, 1,100, 200, 300, 400. So this next line will be 1,500. So 1427 is going to be just in there. Okay. Uranus, 2871 million. So Uranus, I'm probably going to use a wee ruler to help me out here in case I lose my place. There. And I'm going to, there's 2,000, there's 2,500, 600, 700, 800. Next one up will be 900, so 2871 is going to be about there. Okay, and then Neptune, 4498. So what was that? I've forgotten that already. 4498, so it's going to be just below 4,500. Neptune's on the very end line here. So 4,000, 4,500, we're going to be just there. Okay, so compare yours with mine. I'm trying to get rid of that, get that easier to see, make a shadow there. Okay, compare yours with that. Okay, so let's have a wee look at this graph, right? Do you see how Mercury, Venus, Earth and Mars, so the first four here, are relatively close together? And then see these outer planets? Look how, like, they're really, really far apart, and they're really, really far from us. And the reason that I'm saying this is because there's an awful lot of chat at the minute about travelling to Mars and people trying to get to Mars. And I think it takes about 6 months to get there. So imagine, that's, look how close together we are. Imagine how long it would take us to get the whole way out there. Far too long. And that's just our solar system. Never mind the rest of the universe, which we'll go on to talk about in a little bit as well. Right, so on page 147, this is the first thing, well, not, you've just done the graph. The next thing I need you to do. So I'm asking you to come up with a sentence or a rhyme or a mnemonic to help you remember the order of the planets. So on this page, you've got the list of the first letters of the planet names in order. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So that order is really easy for me to rhyme off because I'm a physics teacher. I talk about the planets all the time, okay? But if you're not talking about them all the time, it's kind of hard to remember them in order. You might remember all their names, but you might mix up the order. So do you know the way like you would learn the colours of the rainbow with something like Richard of York gave Battle in Vain for red, orange, green, blue, indigo. Did I leave one out? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. I don't think I did leave one out. Okay, same idea here. So whenever I was at school, Pluto was still considered a planet. So the rhyme I learned at school was, my very exaggerated mother just says you need protein or pizza, or people did different things for Pluto there. So what I need you to do is come up with your own little rhyme or mnemonic for a way that's going to make it easy for you to remember the order of the planets. Okay, so pause and do that. Okay, so once you've got that done, then page 148, there is a couple of questions for you to do. So this is just is this true or false? And then this one here has a table with a bunch of information about the different planets in it. So the distance from the sun, the time to orbit the sun, diameter, mass, and the number of moons. Now, they're done, look, in a funny scale. So everything's done in comparison to the Earth. So the Earth is going to be 1 for them all. So the distance from the sun is 1. Mars is 1.524 of the distance of the sun than the Earth is. Let's say for diameter, so see the way Mars is 0.5, that means its diameter is half of what the Earth is. See the way Uranus is 4, that means its diameter is 4 times that of the Earth. So it's the same for them all, everything's just compared to Earth, so it's not the actual distances, it's not the actual diameter, it's not the actual mass, the number of moons is just the number of moons, not the actual time to orbit the sun. So this is quite a good wee question. These are lists of planets in different orders. So what you need to do is figure out, is this one in the order of mass? Is it in the order of distance from the sun? Going from smallest to biggest. Okay. Now there's 2 of these that would produce the same order. Try and figure out what they are and then say why you think that is. Okay. So you'll have to show me those. Now, I'm going to link a couple of wee YouTube videos for you to watch just to try and get an idea about the size of the solar system and the planets. Just a wee bit more interesting than listening to me blathering on here. Okay, so I will look forward to seeing these from you and see you next day.